Somebody said, we'll give you a space. I said, we're almost 17% of people in our country. What? We need a space. We need a platform for ourselves. That's why the National Federation of Dalit. If you have to do something, I have to do. I have to take leadership. If I'm talking, I have to talk for my people. Education is the level playing ground. You can come up. It's a tough journey, but it's a very joyful journey of uniting people whose rights have been violated, whose due share is not given from our society.
Sometimes the challenges we face become the very first step that take us forward. In this episode of Expressions, we have Ruth Manorama, whose remarkable journey spans decades of resilience, leadership, and a deep commitment to empowering others. We explore the experiences that shaped her voice and her purpose.
Hi, welcome to Expressions. I'm Neha. Today I'm joined by a very strong and powerful woman, and let's get to know her and let's get to know her journey a little more through this conversation. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us today. I'd like to begin by asking you. You once said that your deepest desire was to bounce like a ball that has been hit and not to curl up and collapse. So take me back to that first blow. What experience gave birth to these words?
Thank you, first of all, for calling me to retell my story of my life experiences. In fact, being born as a Dalit in our society itself, it's really very damning, no? They look at you, they even know my name, Ruth Manorama. They would like to find out because I have no third name, no? And they will always like to ask, what is your third name? What's your, what's your family name and all? I said, I'm Ruth Manorama. Are you carrying your father's name? Are you carrying your later husband's name? I didn't. Ruth Manorama is my name. I think, the very soon that you born into the community, like, you are always looked down upon. Yeah, that is one. That itself the first kick. Yeah. You're studying so well, you speak good English. How can you be a Dalit? How can you be a scheduled caste? That is one. And that not only that, like, if you're a bright girl, coming up and studying well, a smart girl, always, you see, oh, you are, above men, above boys. What is it like? So I slowly, from my younger age itself, uh, experienced the kind of, kind of, what you say, looking down upon, uh, you are this, you are that kind of an, expression. So, you come from a slum, you yourself live in a slum community. What are you? Your mother is a teacher, your father is this. So the kicks that I go to good schools, I went to good schools, I went to good college. At the end of it, I end up in a slum, yeah. And the slum community where is a neighborhood where a lot of Dalits, almost everyone Dalit. So you come from that place, yeah. So that is a first kick. Sometimes I feel also, my God, I study with, good students, very high class society students. The yes stream also, in you, very low to start with. Though you are the smartest girl in the school, and we travel quite a bit to go in, study in a good school and all that. That is one experience that I face. But everywhere, people talk about equality, and they were so unequal in the treatment. Even in my leadership, when I was in the movement and all that, people thought, where is this woman coming in and, challenging us. Yeah. Every time, kick to, ball bounces. But I think, at the end, I said that if you have to do something, I have to do. I have to take leadership. If I'm talking, I have to talk for my people. Until then, until that I came to a realization that I need to build a movement for my women to speak and space, a platform. Somebody said, we'll give you a space. I said, we are, we are almost, 17% of people in our country. What? We need a space. We need a platform for ourselves. That's why the National Federation of Dalit. So I never took my obstacles as a kind of an hindrance. I thought that are steps to go up. I think I broke, many obstacles and made this platform. Today, many people stand on this. Students all over, sociologists, anthropologists in university. People have started writing about themselves, stories about their lives, theses, like that. So I would say that I never saw obstacles would prevent me. You know, the story of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar comes to my mind. How he grown in his life, always facing obstacles. Somebody said this, somebody said that. You may be fantastic, clever, and can break things. But even then, where you come from, which ladder, social ladder you come from. I said, that's okay. I did not choose to be born, it's an accidental. So these obstacles I have to overcome. My overcoming, this kind of obstacle was a lesson to many people. That is why I said that. And actually, this quote is from Miss Bama, and a woman poet, from Tamil Nadu. Yeah, in fact, that quote, I have used it when I was receiving my alternate Nobel Prize in Sweden Parliament.
That's wonderful, ma'am. Thank you for sharing. So, your mother fought her own father for the right to go to school, and she named you after Pandit Ramabai's daughter. What did Dorothy teach you around the kitchen table that no movement ever could?
My mother was a teacher, primary school teacher. And uh, when she reached, 8th standard, her father said, I believe, you can't study anymore. You don't either get out, 8th standard is enough for you. You are able to read and write. Those days, 8th standard people, it's like, intermediate students, right? The knowledge was so much, and their English and everything, and it was a good school she studied. And in her library, she picked up the book called Pandit Ramabai book. My mother, from her younger age, I think, is an voracious reader. And she picked up the book and then started studying, started reading it. And then her life was, remarkable life. Those days where the girls were like, got married earlier, and she was one victim like that, child marriage. And those time, these sati is also practiced. So the girls can never study, what you call Sanskrit. She's from the north. So then she overcome all this. And her other husband died. She left with one daughter. That is, Pandit Ramabai's daughter is Manorama. My mother was, very, very excited by this story. And she converted herself to Christianity. That's how she went and studied Sanskrit. She went as a missionary to promote education for the girls. So I think that story touched my mother. She must have thought I should be like her, Then, one by one, she converted to Christianity. And then, she said, I reject my name. I wanted to change my name. In those days, changing your name, and the missionaries were, I think, the principal of the school, that is Dorothy Elizabeth. She picked up the name. She must have been very proud to carry this name. Even when you call her, she will say the full name. My name is Dorothy Elizabeth. So, though she's a primary school teacher, I remember my mother was a teacher even for us at home. She never went to kitchen. Even if she went to kitchen, her cooking so bad, right? But she's not bothered about it. All that she taught me, come up in life by your education. Education is the level playing ground. You can come up. So, in a sense, her, struggle for dignity, struggle for that girls have to stand on their own feet and self-reliance in 1950s. And before that, 1950s. 1950s, the time she got married. Before that, she said girls have to stand on their own. So once she studied, she also pulled the other sisters also studied. She went to the training school and became a teacher. And then when I was born, the name that she gave is Manorama. Yeah, Manorama is really the life content. You're a contented woman. Anyway, so she gave me that name. I think fighting for dignity and a place in society as a woman, you know, her fight for dignity and a place in society has become my politics. I think that made me to follow my mother.
So you often describe your husband as a comrade and colleague. What does love look like between two people who have devoted their lives to the same struggle?
Actually, love for both of us is, respecting each other's views, respecting our ideologies, what I want to stand for.
Yeah.
I mean, there were many people wanted to get married to me because at one age, in Tamil Nadu, being a Tamil woman, they always, South India, they'll fix up marriages. After your MA, you're already 23, 24, even 25. Then they'll say, okay, now the time has come that you get married. And then I came to Bangalore to escape, my mother's proposals. Yeah. And she will say, this doctor, that person, engineer, and all that. I said, no, no, no. These are all doesn't, ma. These are all doesn't. Instead of you're asking my photos to them, you better ask their guys to show me these photos and yes, biodata. So, like that, I escaped. And my friend gave me a chance to come and work in Bangalore. I escaped. And I met him while I was working in Madras. And I'm a strong girl, but a loving girl also, So, like, we met in work. We met in work and all that. We were, organizing a very big slum development program in Chennai after a big, heavy, floods in 1975 and 76. We were working together. So I met him and he liked me and I liked him. But I think that, I always, kept in my mind very clearly that somebody who respects my family, respects me, and, like my commitment to the work, only that kind of guy I will meet. So with him and me, it's somebody who would, share my vision. That's the kind of person. So in a sense, both of us came to Bangalore together at the same time. He came to work in another place. I came to work in another place. So we said that, okay, something we must also do together. What is it that we are good at? What we can do to Bangalore? We work together. So in a sense, building relevant and appropriate organizations, training people, enlarging our vision, and our focus was working with the urban poor and the unorganized sector of labor, and definitely women is my priorities. I said these are the things we'll put our hand in Bangalore. When I came in 1976, yeah, there were some organizations were existing, one or two, very much welfare oriented groups. That is the time that international women's conferences were taking place. Some women's group were coming up. But somebody like us, who worked in Chennai together, we also know how to oppose demolition, eviction. Working for women is what? Giving education women. Since we worked in Madras together for a very short time, then we came together and we said, why not we work together? Because, somebody at home to support you. So we are a great support to each other. So we grown in love, doing a lot of work, laughing at people, people how they speak, how they talk, how they behave, in mobilizing them was a joy. And both of us would be from the morning in the evening meetings, going into government offices, didn't speak good Kannada at the time. So we have to speak in English. So the guys would ask us, ಏನು ನಿಮಗೆ ಕನ್ನಡ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ವಾ? Slowly I asked them, sir, you're an IAS officer. Don't you know English? A kind of, I'm also very humorous. Mm. And then I raise all this. So in the work, there is a lot of joy. There's a lot of pain. How are we going to lead 200,000 people on the road? Yeah. So we have developed courage. We have developed, confidence with each other. We can build up and bring, the poor in Bangalore have a space. That citizenship right must be accorded. So about the rights of the people, we have spoken very, very. So we have talked the truth to the power.
So, ma'am, you spent more than 4 decades working alongside some of India's most marginalized communities. Looking back, what moments define that journey for you?
It's a tough journey, but it's a very joyful journey of uniting people whose rights have been violated, whose due share is not given from our society. So constantly educating them, organizing them, mobilizing them is the 45 years is the longest,
Yes.
walking. So in this journey, I feel many people have been, uplifted, emancipated. Many people also got tangible rights like housing, like, violence has been stopped. Women are standing up and talking for their rights. So I think the journey has been so good because you gave the women, powerless people
Empowerment.
power to
Yeah.
articulate their rights. I think that is the most happiest journey.
Yes, the basic rights. So you've received the Right Livelihood Award, addressed the United Nations, and were nominated among thousand women for the Nobel Peace Prize. But if you set all these accolades aside, what's one face, one conversation or moment that means more to you than all of these awards?
Yeah. I'll be walking on the road in Bangalore or traveling. Somebody say, Namaste, good morning, madam. Good morning, sister. Not madam. I'm been only in the moment referred as sister. Only now, the latest crowd are calling, madam and sir. But I think, what is the thing? Suddenly I'll meet someone. They'll say, madam, we got a house because of your struggle. I am now standing up and fighting because of you. I'm going to school because of you. You said that no girls should get married in our slums, in our communities before 18. And I'm studying. And I am now working in IT. I'm working as this. I think a lot of them are self-reliant today, very able to talk, very able to articulate. Many of my friends, who are educated intellectuals tell me, hey, all your groups in your poor women, your domestic workers, your health workers, talk exactly like you, Ruth. I think what is more, these are
Fulfilling
all,
than
these are
this.
all,
Yes,
very,
absolutely.
I would not say immaterial. That's all not needed. I think working for people, making them as dignified from lumpensiness to dignified human being. So all our movements fought for dignity of the poor in Bangalore, in Karnataka, and I also work like this in the other states in India. That is through National Federation of Dalit Women. National Federation of Dalit Women today, after I spoke about the Dalit women, people started writing in Economic Political Weekly. Dalit women talk differently. All the women students talking, writing, doing thesis, getting master's degree. One professor told me, "You do not know, Ruth. You don't realize what a contribution that you made to the academia." I said, "I do not know, sir." Today, the gate has been opened up to venture into areas where others could not. I think that's a beautiful
Yes, absolutely.
contribution.
You played a key role in taking caste discrimination to International Human Rights Forum. So critics argued that India's internal issues shouldn't be discussed on global platforms. How did you respond to that?
Hmm. So I had a chance, slowly, not only working at the state at a national level, I also had a chance to go to the international levels. In fact, international levels, I went as a woman. I had a chance to, to participate in many of the national, international meetings. Whenever I went, I only represented the women, the poorest women. Though I represent all women in the country, but my priority is also talking about the poorer women and the marginalized women. So when people talk about race, I see the parallels between race and caste. And then, they are not the same. That is talking about color, but the experiences of racially oppressed and this are the same. Okay. And then I talk about the urban poor, houselessness, poverty. I mean, these are also issues discussed at that level. So who was to talk about poverty? People who had, stomach full, who had done research, they talk about poverty. I said, why not, a poor woman, who never had food, for 3 days, starved their children, must talk. So it has happened in the Beijing conferences. I said that one of the issues of Beijing conference is poverty, unemployment, education. People who are denied must talk what rights they want. Yeah. Durban conference in 2002, people were talking about, racial discrimination. I said, we are also discrimination very parallel to that. So we have to talk. So we went and talked. I think we have enabled people, enabled us to talk. I mean, human right discrimination and violation is global. It cannot be local.
Yeah.
If you are not able to deal with that at local level, people will go at a different levels.
Yeah.
So I have an argument saying that when you go and talk about poverty, education, and that in the United Nations, why not people affected by it cannot talk?
Yeah.
Because there is a very strong NGO forums, civil society forums where we can represent. So when I had a chance to talk, I talked. So people said, "Oh, you are washing dirty linen in public." I said, "Sir, if you're able to launder here, why I should we go and talk this?" I said to Mr. P.V. Narasimha, "Madam, you should not go and, wash your dirty linen in Beijing." I said, if you sort out all the women's problem in India, what are we asking for? Education for us? We're asking a political reservation for us. We are talking about the marginalized. We weren't treated properly in this country. And, we said that children's protection, children's education, we have, only put about 6 or 7 demands. That you fulfill, sir, we will not go anywhere. We will be enjoying here and staying. Even getting visas to China was so difficult. For the first time, women are going. So I said that, open up. Issues are global today. Uh, when you can fly and talk about peace, when you can go and talk about poverty, business, why not the people? I think the world belongs to people. The world belongs not only to the upper layer of people,
Yeah.
whether bureaucrats or people in the judiciary, people there. It should be for ordinary people. That's how we went, with these shows. They said all that. I still fighting for that. So every day you have to really uh, your fight is local and global, and you fight globally and also locally. Yeah.
Thank you very much for all the good work that you do and for giving us so much thoughts to ponder upon. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Today, we learn that one person's journey can become a source of strength and inspiration for many others. That was Ruth Manorama on Expressions. If this episode moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the New Indian Express. Until we see you next time.